All right, hello. My name is Sherrod Maiden. I chose to the gaming gameplay programmer as my profession that I want to go into in the gaming industry. Um, there are I did chose search for a job, and I found one from Easy Games. They were looking for a gaming programmer, a gameplay programmer. Um, it's a company that's located in San Diego, California. They had some expectations. They expected a gameplay programmer to create new features, polish or tune up existing game features, working with the artists, designers, and developers, owning entire aspects of the gameplay experience even after deployment, and creating reusable gameplay systems. They're requiring 3 to 5 years of gameplay programming or software engineering experience, and experience in working with game engines and game development concepts, a passion for game design, and the ability to communicate ideas and suggestions for creating fun gameplay. When it comes to a gameplay programmer, the skills and responsibilities that are needed are to implement the gameplay features. So that's the coding systems for characters' movement and the rules of the game and the progression systems. You got to translate the design into code. So you take the ideas from the game designers and you turn them into features that the players can play within the game. You also have to collaborate with the team. You work with the designers, the artists, the programmers, and engineers to get the game's visions achieved. You also got to work with the engines like Unreal, Unity, Godot, or whatever engine that is required for your game. They want you have to have some type of understanding of, usually a great understanding of the engine's capabilities and the limitations of the game and engine. And you need to refine and troubleshoot like the game. So once you finish the game, you need to be able to find out any bugs and fix the gameplay issues that occur. And you want to make sure everything is finished and polished up to make sure the game is functional before it's deployed. You also implement player control and camera systems for like which buttons to press, what the mouse should do, when you press certain buttons, the camera, where it is located, and how it interacts with the world. You want to make sure you can have some ability to create a combat and progression system, weapons, skill systems, reward systems, and things that basically help the game progress. You also need to create a user interface, like the menu and other things to ensure that there's a smooth player experience. You want to make sure that when they press the buttons, that it does correlate to what the actions are. The interface should also include the pause system, the settings, things like that. Physics and animation is another thing that you have to be aware of, because certain games require certain physics. A game like Gran Turismo does not have the same physics when it comes to driving as Grand Theft Auto. Also, you want to make sure that the animations are connected to the physics, and when the player jumps, it jumps in the correct way and the correct height. And the AI controlled characters, you want to make sure that they are acting in accordance with the gameplay's vision. So you have to program the artificial intelligence to make sure that the enemies or NPCs are correctly being programmed correctly so that they behave the way that the game is intended from the designers. Some of the skills needed are, you got to be proficient in programming, C++, C/, Python. Understanding that knowledge of understanding that language is very vital to being a viable candidate. You need to also not only know how to program C++, but also whatever game engine you're working. Like I said, even if you understand C/, You still need to understand what the game engine is able to do and not do. Problem solving is really pretty much all programming does involve problem solving. So once you run into some bugs or that the system is not working, you need to be able to troubleshoot and fix those on a technical side and make sure that the game is the solutions still work. You need to collaborate and communicate. There are many people involved in creating games, so from the game designers and the other artificial intelligence programmers and stuff like that. As a gameplay programmer, you have to be able to work with them and share your ideas and basically be able to document what happened and share that with the whole team. And you have to have some form of understanding of game design, because you need to know what makes it fun and what aspects of the games and mechanics that you need to create and adhere to, so that the game will have some form of, will be closer to the vision of the game designer's initial ideas and ideologies. So being that those are the skills, currently I don't have many of those skills. I'm very far from it. I feel like I'm more like a beginner than at the end of that process. There's a lot of things I have to work on in order to get to being proficient with that, being proficient enough to consider myself a viable employee. For this job selection, the skills I listed, to implement a game feature, I would feel like I'm pretty much, I don't have any experience for that. I never really did that on my own. I am like far from being able to do that. So to do that, implement gameplay features, in order to get to my short-term goal would be to just try to create some games that probably are not, too complicated, or some gameplay system things, just to learn the engine a little better and learn the code a little better. So I would have to, come up with some concepts like jumping and shooting and maybe moving or two-player, just some of the simplest things, because like I said, I have never done anything like this. Long-term, I would say that I would just continue doing that. I would have to get to the point where I would get more complicated things and use those to come up with a better way to implement gameplay features. Because movement, I could do whatever the game engine already has, but if I have to do anything beyond that, like create one, I would have to just start with something simple, like climb, and then figure out a way to go down. I mean, I know that's on the Z axis, but how to make them climb or jump make it look realistic, I don't know how to do that. Translating ideas into code, yeah, I don't know how to do that either. Again, this is stuff I have really no experience at all doing. I just know that, I can continue trying on there. There's really nothing I can say about that, because like I haven't done that on my own. I've only done it through tutorials. So again, my short-term goal would be to just try to take some ideas that I could come up with my own, or maybe even look at some video games that I have played and try to emulate or create those. Long-term, it would be the same as, translating into code. Implement game features. Just start with something simple and try to continue to build upon that. But that's pretty much, like I said, I really don't have no experience at any of this stuff. I have experience with collaborating with teams, but not in this form. I collaborate with teams because I have worked, so I know how it goes to work with people, and I have to get things accomplished that way. But as far as working with artists, designers, and to create a vision from something that someone said they want to see, nah, I haven't done that. So I do feel like I do have the experience of talking to people and knowing how to communicate and get a job done. Just never in this industry. So on the short term for that, I would, like I said, I would probably try to find some game jams and start collaborating with them to try to build a relationship, or start seeing how to build the relationships for the programmers and the artists and getting the vision done that way. Long term, I would just try to find some teams to work on and just work with a bunch of people in different aspects, and maybe even try to find someone who is also interested in gameplay creation, and maybe just be in a different aspect. Maybe they're an artist, maybe they're a designer or engineer, and we can just work together. That's my long term goal on that one. Working with the engines. Again, this is first time even working with these engines. I had it downloaded before, but I never worked with the engine, the Unreal Engine. So working with the engines, I don't have any experience with that other than doing tutorials. So again, I would say I'm just pretty much, no experience, because I can't go onto any of this stuff and make a game without being told what to do, how to do, when to do, and all that stuff. So I don't feel like that is someone who is viable for a job or to be considered for a job. So my short-term goal would be same thing: go in there, make something simple. Start off with something simple, changing the color of an asset, a cube or a sphere, making it spin, making it bounce, making it destructible, and just figure out how much it can do. That will be my short-term goal. And my long-term goal is basically just try to build upon that and make more complicated things, because I really don't know how to do anything without a tutorial. I kind of remember some of the stuff, but I would still have to go into the tutorial to kind of really make what happened, make the asset or whatever happen again. So I don't feel like I have any kind of understanding, because if you have to do tutorials for everything, you really don't know what you're doing. But when it comes to troubleshooting, I'm pretty good at that, I feel. When I was troubleshooting, or when I find a problem, I was able to kind of solve it by looking into like Googling the problem and then kind of finding it. I noticed a lot of the problems in coding are not necessarily like, there's sometimes it's just syntax errors, but there is that initialization one that kind of stumps me a lot, where it's like you did not initialize a variable or something, and it just kind of hangs up on that, and that's kind of complicated to fix sometimes, because especially if you don't know exactly where the variables are and how the codes are connected. So yeah, that's the part that would kind of stump me. So I don't consider myself a complete beginner with that troubleshooting, but I'm also not someone who, if you just gave me a bunch of code, I could figure out exactly what's the problem. So again, my short-term goal would be to that is just continue trying to code, and if I find a problem, look it up and figure out how to fix it. Long-term, going from simple to complicated. Again, I have no skills for this. I haven't never worked this far into a computer. I've only did taxes my life, so I don't really know much about programming. So I would have to just start with something simple and then try to just build my way up as fast as possible. The only thing I can think of is just put more time into it, because I really don't know exactly which way to go with this as far as where I am and how to get there. I just know I need more. That's all I know. So when it comes to like creating characters and environment interaction, again, I don't really know how to do that. I know how to make an environment, but to make it like an open world that's big, such as Final Fantasy or any Mario, I haven't made nothing that big, because it just seems time consuming, and I only had a couple weeks to submit a project, so that wasn't going to happen. I haven't had any classes that show combat. I had one that had where you gathered some stuff that was your progression and you won. But as far as like skill points or anything like that, I haven't done nothing like that. I created menus, and you can press on the menu to start and or see what your inventory was, but nothing beyond all that. And the physics and animation is never really, I never changed the physics. And as far as the animation, we just used whatever model was on there. So I never changed that. And the artificial intelligence that I did was just very elementary. So in all of these skills, again, I am a beginner. I have no experience doing this on my own. Again, I feel like if you have to get a tutorial, you're really not experienced. So I would have to, again, start from the simple things, build a bigger world for the environment and change the camera systems, so that it follows from this angle and that angle and it can put it on the head. Build collisions in certain spots. I never did a combat system, so I don't know where to start at that. We shot a gun and the gun worked. But as far as like taking damage, I didn't do anything like that. The menus are pretty easy, the user interface, stuff like that. But like, again, I could make some boxes and you could click on them. That's about as far as I got into there. I haven't changed any physics. I haven't made any physics of my own. I've used the Unreal physics. And short term, try something different. Long term, I don't know which way to go on that one. As far as the artificial intelligence saying, I would have to do like a bunch of tutorials and see what everyone else is doing, because the artificial intelligence I did, the character just moved. He didn't even move with like walk or anything. Just kind of slid across the screen. So I would have to start with trying to make him move like a regular thing with legs and stuff instead of just sliding and floating. And yeah, and then try to get him to look more realistic. My skills as far as programming proficiency, like I said, I don't really code that much. I've never coded that much. My short-term goals would be to do simple functions, do moving variables, A's and B's, switching to variables, stuff like that. Long-term, try to create some bigger systems, to-do lists and stuff like that. My knowledge of the game engine is, like I said, from what I learned in the time I've been in this program, and it's not that extensive. So I would have to start from like trying to make a room and physics in the room. To be honest, when I still haven't got it to the point where the character doesn't fall through the floor every time I press play. So I don't really know much about the game engine. I just got to really get familiar with it. And the only way I can do that is continue messing with it. But like I said, problem solving, I'm good at problem solving. If there's a problem, I can fix it. But I haven't really had chance to really like solve the problem because I'm trying to just get this thing done within 8 weeks. And a lot of times that's just complicated. So to get better at problem solving for this specific industry, I would just have to create problems and solve them. Small problems and big problems. Again, collaborations. I think I need to start doing the game jams and start also interacting with the gaming community as far as like on GameDev.net and other places where there are people who are creating games and asking for people to, try them out and stuff. So I can go in there and start interacting with the game developers and start a network and start communicating with them. And understanding the game design, I don't really know how to do that. I just know that, hey, somebody say they want something, you have to create that for them. So understanding what is needed, I mean, I can hear you, but as far as putting it together, I don't know. So short term, I would look for things that are like already been created, such as Zelda, Mario, Grand Theft Auto, and try to emulate or simulate their things and come up with my own, and try to figure out a way to, if I was asked for that, how to deliver that. As far as like interacting with the game community, I really didn't. I asked this one person about their game. Asked him about the coding because, it was just a simple word game and I didn't know what he did. I didn't ask about the color of it. I really didn't feel like bothering him that much, but maybe I should have. But I saw that even in a simple word game, you need to code, but the game design and how to put the words, and I didn't ask about that word because it was in Spanish and I really couldn't understand what the game was doing. But I saw that it was asking for a simple creation or like a word scramble. So you just take the letters and you make a word out of that. So how he came up with the buttons and placement of the buttons, I didn't ask about that, but those are some of the things I would have to go further into communicating with the gameplay designers to see exactly what went into creating and why did they put this there, that, and the other. That seemed like a simple game, but when I saw that he did actually use some coding for it, I realized that even with the simple games, that there is still some coding, which will make it still kind of complicated for me, and I don't think I will be able to do that. Even a simple game that's on HTML. So, again, my skills are like to the point where if I do apply for jobs in the next couple of months, I shouldn't get hired. Whoever hires me should be fired because why would you hire me? And I think that in the short term, in the next 6 months after completing this program, my best thing to do is just create as many games as possible, or at least as many assets as possible. Something simple. I would go with assets first and just try to create something that can be used somewhere else. Maybe a door opening mechanic or a certain way to flip or something for the character to move. I think I need to start there with very simple things, just one thing, and getting that done and getting some repetition in that way. And then after that, I can move on to, more complicated things, such as putting those two together. You open the door of a car and you do a flip. But right now, I don't have any of those skills, and that's pretty much where I'm at right now. I don't think it's impossible to get, but it's going to take me some time. My short-term goal of being proficient in that will probably take me about a year or two just to even get close to being able to create a mechanic that isn't tutorial based, just to be able to do it. The one thing I do understand, because I have worked for most of my life, is that there's a level of monotony doing the same thing over and over again. So if you got a car if you're creating a car or a vehicle, it's going to have some similar things. So I do know that there will be a level of doing things over and over again. But until I get to that point, I'm really not skilled for this profession at all. Hopefully I will be soon, but this is just a matter of timing and putting in the work. And there's no way around that. Thank you.